Hello, everybody. My name is Gabriel Zozaya, and I'm here to present a quick presentation on the topic of global market access and regulation, compliance management on the topic of functional safety and the uniqueness and importance of proactive certification compliance. As I said, my name is Gabriel Zozaya. I have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and a master's degree in systems engineering and management uh, from the University of Texas at Dallas. I have 6 years of experience in compliance engineer working for Intertech Testing Services in Plano, Texas, where I have been focusing on appliances and electronics. I'm a functional safety practitioner and a subject matter expert on heating appliances and regulating controllers. And I have put together today this presentation with the intention of highlighting some of the differences and some of the uniqueness on functional safety and how manufacturers can proactively work on those requirements to ease their experience in compliance with this type of functional safety projects. So some history and some um, background on functional safety. So the first functional safety standard was written relatively recent in 1988, and it was as a result of an unfortunate event, Piper Alpha accident, 6th of July of 1988, where 167 persons were killed, including two crew members of the crew of the rescue vessel. And the total insured loss was about 1.7 million pounds. And this accident highlighted the need to create something else that we didn't have in the compliance industry at that point. That the result of that was the creation of a new safety standard, functional safety standard. This market is predicted to reach $8.6 billion by 2024 from the current 4.5 billion uh, recorded in 2016. And this shows us how, even though it's relatively modern in terms of the history of compliance, it's up and coming field in the industry that we should watch out. Some definitions and some of the uh, main ideas from functional safety and non-functional safety projects. So first, functional safety it involves automatic protection. It involves failure in a predictable manner, and it's a product or a function that is able to handle likely human errors, hardware failures, software or firmware faults, and operational or environmental stress. While non-functional safety type of projects, type of compliance investigations are inherent hazards such as fire, electric shock, radiation, mechanical hazards, and toxicity. So as a good example on how to differentiate them, a thermal sensor in a system that causes the system to de-energize as it overheats is a functional safety attribute. It's a function, it's an automatic function that a smart device is making the decision to de-energize the unit at a certain point. While on the other hand, an insulation to protect the system against risk associated with high temperature is a safety measure, but it's not a functional safety. As both may minimize the risk of fire, one handles with the automatic decision making, the function behind, while the other evaluates the insulation and the inherent hazards of the material. So that would be the main difference between a functional safety evaluation and a non-functional safety evaluation. One of the most important part that I wanted to highlight is the difference in terms of where and when we start documenting our compliance um, processes, where a non-functional safety investigation may be agnostic about the behind the scenes and how the design came about, and they focus more on the final design and the end product. Functional safety evaluation uh, draw the design portion of the project right in the middle of what is called the safety life cycle. In this slide here, I have pasted two important figure, one from IC 61508-1 and another one for IC 61511-1, where we can see how uh, within the product safety life cycle, the design phase is right in the middle. We have some documentation that we need to provide before we can start with the design, and the compliance documentation doesn't end after the design, but we still need to provide some further documentation once the final design is over. This is something that is significantly different from a non-functional safety evaluation, as typically once the design is over, the design documentation and the end product is submitted to the agency to be evaluated, and the pass-fail criteria, the compliance of the product is based on that alone. Where in functional safety, we will evaluate and will require some manufacturer generated, manufacturer created documentation related with the requirements, related with the risk and hazard uh, prevention, and that's before the actual design. And then after the actual design phase, we have maintenance, requirement validation, as well as decommission. So those are unique to functional safety and are things that we need to proactively talk and proactively have in mind when we talk about functional safety type of evaluations. Some of these unique documents, as I mentioned, are hazard and risk analysis, safety requirements, safety validation, maintenance, and decommission. So we'll go shortly about over some of these. The first of all, the first one, hazard and risk analysis. This will happen even before the design of the product, and properly documenting this in an early stage of the design will allow the manufacturer to clearly identify the amount and characteristic of the safety functions required to cover all possible hazards. This will help avoid costly and undesired redesign to address missed issues down the line. But most importantly, having a solid foundation for selecting the layer of protection necessary to meet the desired risk level without over-designing, which will lead to overspending. Um, then we'll see the safety requirements. Safety requirement is a document that is one of the most important document in a product life cycle, as it will clearly define what are those requirements needed to meet the safety integrity level or seal, and how the manufacturer is going to be able to manage risk in an efficient way without uh, under or over designing. Is that base point document that lays what needs to be met in order to be compliant with all hazards, those hazards that, by the way, were identified in the hazard and risk analysis. After the actual design phase, we have a document that is also unique for this type of functional safety evaluation that is called the safety validation. This document looks for confirming that the requirements laid before in the safety requirement document are in fact met after the design phase. As opposed to the first two items, which are meant to be completed before the design phase, safety validation is to be completed after the design phase. So where non-functional safety or conventional compliance documentation ends once the design is over, functional safety require us to keep documenting and will require manufacturers to create their own safety validation documents. Then we have maintenance. This document is key for the entire cradle to grave life cycle of the product. Um, it is significantly greater in time that the design phase, in the sense that will manufacturers tend to design this product in a shorter time as compared with the overall life cycle of any given product out in the market. So it's really important to have a good maintenance policy and documentation in place, because most of the life cycle of any given product will stay in this phase here. And again, this is something that is not uh, usually involved in conventional compliance investigation that is included in a functional safety evaluation. Finally, we have the commission. The commission is a very distinct difference between functional safety and non-functional safety, and is based on the idea of how these type of products are going to be removed from the field in a safely manner without developing any further hazard. Another interesting idea about this is what's the value of functional safety? And there is a common saying that encapsulate this idea in a beautiful way, which is, if you think that health and safety is expensive, try an accident. Really, the value of functional safety and this type of evaluation is only measured against the cost of an accident if we don't go this route. Some of my final thoughts: not all certification programs are created equal. We have functional safety, which requires different type of documentation that includes some of the requirements before the um, actual design phase, and some are after the design phase. Um, Functional safety is also unique because it evaluates some of the most hazardous products in the industry. It requires a higher degree of planning and preemptive analysis to help assure compliance. It requires manufacturers' own internal documentation to prove required with this standard. Reverse engineering this type of documentation will prove to be a challenge, and this needs to be managed in a proactive way since the beginning of the project. Not considering the proper safety life cycle of a protective function could lead to an under or over design, what would immediately lead to overspending or to not be compliant with the standard requirement. And finally, as professionals in the safety field, it is our responsibility to get ourselves familiar with this requirement and proactively work together in delivering better and safer products and experiences to the general public. At this point, I wanted to ask you if there is any question